to 411 T Street, unfiltered conversations on mental health and the issues in society that impact us all. This is where we break down the barriers and explore the topics that intersect with the challenges of modern society. I'm Dr. Milan LaBrey, and each week we'll dive into raw, honest discussions on the systemic issues that affect us all. We'll hear from experts, thought leaders, and everyday people offering real stories and actionable insights to help you achieve an understanding of the issues that matter most. No filters, no sugarcoating, just real talk. Welcome to 411 T Street. Us all. Today, we are going to hear from expert Carol Constant. She is part of the startup WhomLab, which works in the space of IT. This is a great conversation today because with regard to a lot of the things that we are facing as future generations, you may have some great insights. So I'm really excited to have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here.
So, the world is, I don't have any words. The world is fill in the blank. It's messy right now. Very messy. Let me first start by where's your home country?
Yeah, so we are right in the middle of Europe is Prague.
Oh my God, I love your city. Oh my God. And I am also Eastern European.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
second generation. Yeah, I mean, we're totally going off on a tangent here, but yes, my grandmother and grandfather came over, and they were Konechkas and Balkos, which wasn't Balko, but when they went to Ellis Island, it got shortened and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I'm second generation Eastern European, and Prague, for all you listeners, if you've never been there, oh my God, it's like a storybook. Love it. Love this. It was so funny story too. We're totally getting off track here. So funny story. So I went to Prague, and I was living in Chicago. And when I was in Prague, I never took any public transportation. I got out in the morning and I walked all day long. Anywhere I went, I walked. I just walked.
Wow.
And so, when you're walking, you're on the level of eye level, right? So you're seeing what's in front of you. And I was living in Chicago at the time, and I was telling somebody about your magical city, and they're like, "Oh, I went to Prague too. What was your favorite thing?" And I was like, I don't know, the St. Charles Bridge. I don't know the cobblestone streets, the just this unabashed, this so beautiful. And she's like, "You didn't go to Prague." And I was like, "What? Wait, what?" I was just like, what do you mean I didn't go to Prague? She goes, "You would have said the red roofs."
Oh.
I was like, what? And I never noticed the red roofs. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't at that. I wasn't looking up.
Yes.
It was just like, you didn't go. You would have seen the red roofs. And I was like, I saw this square with the little dancy things and the clock. And I was like, I did go there. Anyway, no, sorry, totally off track.
But it's a perfect
Everybody
example.
go.
It's a perfect example. Two people looking at the same thing, and they say completely different, and that we are talking about diversity in mental health and so on. So that's the beauty of it, It's excellent example.
It is a really good example of how two people can see completely different things. So, circling back, just follow my train of thought here. So circling back, yes, we do. There's a lot of things that are coming up, and there's a lot of really diverse opinions about what's going to happen in the space of IT and human resources, and how we develop these spaces, how we hire people, what things look like in the future. a lot of the leaders around the world have said, numerous times that, Google's, Forbes, that emotional intelligence needs to be the driving force of industry.
Correct.
Because other people, like, for example, Stephen Hawking has said, AI is going to completely destroy humankind, right? Which is pretty doomsday. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, and I don't disagree with Stephen Hawking's, but I think we can mitigate crisis if we do some things proactively. So what are your thoughts?
Yes. So exactly as you said, we need to, our only advantage over AI is that we are humans,
Mm,
our emotional intelligence, and this is what we bring to the workplace that machines cannot bring. And this is exactly what we are doing, and not only us, many other startups, trying to find that fit to the company culture, and also that fit to the specific team for people joining a company, correct? And avoiding all of this, the great resignation, and the new generation is just walking away from jobs, because they are not happy there. So the idea is to bring more teams that are more attuned, more aligned, and that it is your emotional intelligence and how you click with other people, that you are happy at work. It's not impossible to be happy at work, is it? There are people who they might not even they might be offered more money, and they will not move because they lack the people there, they lack the dynamics. And this is hopefully this is the future that is happening.
yeah, I might, you have to forgive me. I forgot to turn my phone off. So lots of
Mhm,
noises
mhm.
over there. Jesus.
Yeah.
You talk about the upcoming generation, and here in the United States, I think globally we see a lot of the youngsters' uh, life satisfaction is very, very low. I think for a lot of people, life satisfaction is not great. We don't have to pin this on kids, but I think growing up in a way that they did with regard to one, this very fast-paced society where everything is available immediately, right? But also this kind of excessive sensitivity that kind of also comes along with their culture.
Mhm.
Are you seeing, are, let me rephrase this. Are the problems that you're seeing in the new hires, where is this, what do you see as the systemic problem in all of this? Like, because happiness comes from it, right? It's not about how much money you have or what kind of job you have or any of those kinds of things. So even in your country,
Mhm.
what are
Mhm.
you seeing are some of the really foundational challenges with the new hires in that end of millennial, Gen Z, and now even, we've got to start thinking about the generation alphas.
Well, there is nothing wrong. Let's say it's just different. And for example, they know how to say no. They just say no. No, I'm not going to put up with it. We were, for an older generation, it was different.
Yeah.
We were told, take it. You can take it, come on, you can do it. It's part of the job, is part of the process. But they are saying, no, I'm not happy here, and I'm leaving, and I'm going to find something that is really aligned with me and my values. And they can take me, a couple of months, okay, but they are not going to stay there. So that's the main difference that we can see. They have other options. They can always go somewhere else, mobility. We didn't have that option before.
Yeah.
So they live in a different environment. They have other opportunities, other options that we didn't have, and they are making use of them. So yes.
Yeah, you're right. They do have Well, we all have the ability to say no, but you're right. Generationally, this, depending upon what generation you were from, that wasn't exactly something that you did. And also the different generations, like for example, Gen X, that was completely different. And you've got the Gennials, generation X and the millennial, that little pocket there. And then you've got the millennials, the older millennials. So yeah, and this is psychology too. Each generation has their own set of standards and the way that they are. The challenge though is that in saying no, there are two things. One, I respect the ability to say no because, well, for one thing, I don't do it very well. Let's just start there. But
Yes, exactly.
but the other part of that too is that they also need to learn to kind of strengthen up a little bit because you can't just say no all the time. That's not how life works. You can't just hop around. I mean, you can, but there's a life satisfaction that goes along with that hopping around as well, because everybody needs some fundamentals of stability and security. So when you're constantly saying, no, I'm not happy with this, I'm not happy with this, is it that you're not happy with the job or you are having some internal issue that you're struggling with? So, there's also that kind of variable to look at, right? So that internal struggle that I think a lot of people are going through, and it doesn't have anything to do with the job or the relationship or whatever. They're just saying no because they're just genuinely unhappy inside. But the other part of that too that I see is, and this to be true as well, is that in saying no all the time, this is really putting a financial strain on companies because as people are constantly, they have these high attrition rates. This is costing companies an enormous
Yes,
amount of money.
yes.
And we also know that emotionally intelligent leadership can not only retain employees, but it can also increase company profits by up to 20%. So how do we kind of, so there's a lot of moving parts in what I just said. So what are your thoughts about how we can kind of marry these two worlds? Because it's going to take the leadership at the top and it's going to take the mental health at the, I don't want to say the bottom, but you know what I'm saying. The mental health at the bottom. There's so many moving parts. Like where do we even start with this?
Yeah, so yeah, you explained perfectly. Um, there needs to be a balance. So that you have the two extremes. How do we merge this and make it work? Yes. I can give you examples of what we are doing, like we are looking at teams, and as you say, there are people that are in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 20s, and they all have to work together. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
How can we do it? Um, so for a start, you need to with all these different personalities, and this you always can find a common ground. Yes, and you always can be really committed and very very how can I say, a very determined to achieve a goal that everybody wants to achieve that goal. So even if we are all different and we are all, our different ways to work and to see things, we can always find how to work together and achieve that goal that is going to make us, all of us, happy. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But what I believe is, from the beginning, when you are building that team, you need to have people that are compatible together, that they can work together. Because sometimes you have to imagine 10 people,
Mm-hmm.
and 9 of them were fantastic, but one not that much. And that person will be great for a different team. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So these kind of measures, this type of metrics, including data in this analysis, that is what I believe is going to make a difference. And this is where you were saying before, AI can help, IT can help. This is a new way of looking at it, because right now, how are we doing it? With interviews?
Mm-hmm.
And some people are experts at interviews, like
Mm-hmm.
really great at interviews, but when they go to perform in the job, not that much. And then we also, the other tool that we have is self-assessment questionnaires, where people say whatever they want about themselves to get the job, of course. And I understand that many times you are desperate, you have to say whatever it takes. But that might not be great in the long term, because you are not a fit for that team or for that job. So that needs to be addressed as well from the very, very beginning. This needs to be changed.
So I teach at the university, I teach a class called Theories of Personality. And one of the first
Uh-huh.
questions that we talk about in this particular class that I ask my students is, well, two things. One, do you think that employers should be administering personality profiles like the Myers-Briggs or the Big Five personality test before they get employed? And the other part of that question was, do you also think that employers have the right to look at things like Facebook and Instagram and, these social media? I'm not, LinkedIn is professional, right? But like your personality profile, it's not your personality profile, but it is your personality profile. Whatever you're posting on Facebook and LinkedIn says a lot about who you are, whether you like it or not. And I get my students always saying, well, those are the fun things, that's not exact. I was like, show me who you are. Let me believe you. Like you can't post, parties every weekend, expect me not to think that you're probably going to have a hangover on a Monday. Like or call in sick. Like I was born yesterday. I was born what is that expression? I was born, but not yesterday. I don't know what that was. Anyway.
I wasn't born yesterday,
I
yes.
wasn't born yesterday. Yeah. So, what do you think about things like that? Do you think that we should be using more assessment tools? And AI is a great way to do this. I am a huge proponent of the work that you can do on platforms like ChatGPT. In fact, I use it so much I named it Bob. So Bob is like employee of the month every month. I swear, he's great. But like we have all these great tools. Do you think it's an invasion of privacy? Do you think we need to be using more of these things so that we can really understand how people fit more cohesively into a team?
In here, in our
Anywhere.
side of Europe,
Yeah.
what I mean is they are currently used.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so even the big recruiters, I don't want to say the names, because we work with them, and just not to put them on the spot, but they are using it. They are using many of them, and we work with some corporations, and they do as well. And I even know of a company that, of course, they have different policies for the US and for Europe, because they are allowed to use different tools. What I think is, based on my experience, you cannot find a good fit for a candidate based on their work experience and just based on their, what they have on their CV and their study. Is not possible. How can you?
Mm-hmm.
It is very, very, yeah, it's like a lottery, but like a difficult lottery. Of course, there needs to be limits,
Mm-hmm.
but professionally developed and so on tools, yes, because you need to see, for example, this better than that I do. Like some people are more analytical thinkers,
Mm-hmm.
some people are more really quick decision makers, and when you are building a team together, you need to have this information if you want the team to be successful. This kind of things, they are really important. That's why it's based on what you were saying, emotional intelligence, or how soft skills, however you want to call them, but that's what really makes people click together.
Yeah, absolutely. The one downside, though, I would have to say is I think a lot of people also get, there's always positives and negatives, right? So a lot of because we don't do it old school where you go in, you hand in your resume or your application or whatever, a paper, you're looking at the person in the face, you're having that interview. AI is doing a lot of the pre-work. And I do think in that case, sometimes a lot of people do get overlooked. That would really be a good fit for the position. And that's I think that's the downside of using AI is that, and I think that's the downside of technology in general is that really that lack of authentic connection. I mean, you and I are here right now, we're talking and having this great conversation and thank you, technology. But at the same time, it's not the same. It's not the same as if you and I really were in a coffee shop having a coffee and, we could see more than just this.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah, those are some of the most meaningful moments is just really just spending time in someone's orbit, right? So it's it's a blessing and a curse. I
Hmm.
love Bob. I can't imagine my life without him. However,
Yeah, but also because at this moment, Bob is still learning.
mm,
Bob has some biases, and that's the models need to be better. We are just starting with AI. I know it's been like now it's a tool we use all the time. We call it Bob, yes,
yes.
but Bob is still a child, let's say. So still learning. It will get better. I believe it will get better. At screening candidates and finding candidates that are not they just narrow, very narrow,
Mm.
that they are looking for candidates that come from maternity leave, for example. Yeah, so the candidates that have a gap year, things that it needs improvement. So hopefully that comes sooner than later.
My one of my employees, she named her chat GPT Ted, and we were talking. This was a couple months ago. We were talking, and we always laugh about what Bob and Ted said in the meeting. And she said, she goes, Milan, I always make sure that at the end of whatever I ask Ted, that I always say thank you. And I was like, why do you do that? She goes, because one day Ted might be walking down the street and I want him to know I was a good human. I was just like, true story. That may actually happen. So yeah, I was like, do I need to start thanking Bob? Like it was just like, it was so weird.
Yes, yes, yes. I saw a couple of comments in that regard. And I also wanted to ask you, as you were saying that you are giving classes at university,
Hmm.
have you just going into these insights? Um, I did as well a long time ago, and sometimes you talk to the students. I just doing a parallel between when you talk to somebody
Hmm.
and you have an interview or whatever, and then you have an assessment. You ask them to complete something, because in my case, I saw some students that, maybe the conversation was not, and then they perform really, really well, and the other way around.
Hmm.
And this is the idea, is the same idea with when you are assessing somebody with more professional tools than just an interview chat. So that is what I think that we need to do more of.
Yeah, and I also think we have to when we're talking to anybody, we know that within 100 milliseconds we make a decision about a new person that we meet. So some people say 7 seconds, 100 milliseconds. It doesn't. It's a very short amount of time, and it takes almost 6 months to unravel that first impression. So it's very, very difficult for people who struggle with things like anxiety, introversion. Maybe they're on the autism spectrum, whatever the ADD, there's a lot of different variables that doesn't necessarily, and again, it doesn't mean they're not a fit for your team. And it doesn't mean that they are not going to contribute more than you could possibly imagine. It just means in that moment, they're not testing well, if you will. But we see this even in the education system. Children are asked to perform on these written assessments. We very old school testing. This does not account for all learning styles, and not only does it not account for all learning styles, but it also does not account for other marginalized communities, right? So
Yes.
we It's very, very interesting to me that with all the tools and all the things that we have available to us, that we still, in so many ways, keep doing the same thing over and over and
Mm,
over and over and
yes.
expect some sort of, grand result out of it. I know that there are companies out there, and your company being one of them, that is, taking those extra steps. But what would you say to some of these companies that are just really struggling in this space, that want to see change, but they are also clearly afraid of change?
Yes, well, we do see it because we are bringing innovation into that space. Why? Because we don't do tests, we do games. So
Oh.
yes. So it's not that your typical test, because exactly what you say, some people, no, we don't use tests, we use games. We ask you play this game, and based on your game strategy, not just your answers will give us like 10% of your profile. uh, on your overall, when you decide to start a game, when you finish, when you go up a level, when you go down a level, when you look at a video to know, all the whole strategy. Then for that we build a profile. And yes, we have it. We because it's been test the classic tests, they've been used for, well, from last century, for many years, correct? So
Mhm.
some people are a bit scared. So in that case, the way we use it, is, for example, we just give an examples. And for example, let me tell you one. Imagine that you have a narcissist and someone with imposter syndrome. Yes, you have
Mhm.
the two extremes, and they go to this, how good are you, or something. They are going to give you, they are completely not very far from the facts, correct? So
Mhm.
this is why we want to go one step more. And normally what we do with the companies, and we are working with some really nice companies, is we tell them, okay, we are going to do the profile of 2, 3, 4 people, even you,
Mhm.
and and tell us, we don't know you at all, for example, and but just play this game, and we will be the profile. And that's how we are doing it. And we get, so it's possible, and we are not the only ones doing this. There are many more companies also working with really big corporations. So it's just that it's starting now, but it's so interesting, and people get really fascinated. And sometimes they are like, how is it possible? Because our most comment is spot on. And so it is possible. There is a new way, and it is still, with the innovative companies, with the tech companies and STEM and so on. Some of the recruiters as well trying it, but it is coming. So you will see more of it.
That's fascinating. So I feel curious. So are these games, are they like video games, or are they board games, or are they like psychological tests where you're putting blocks and pegs and what what do these
Okay,
games
so
look
for example, I'll explain you one. So you know that many of these past tests, they have puzzles, yeah?
like?
You have to find a puzzle. So imagine you have the puzzle there. So
Hmm.
that part is there, but then they ask you, how sure are you of your answer? From 0 to 100.
Mm.
That will be part of the game. So in that case, you can see how the person changes when they are losing. They lost several times. When they are winning several times. When they make mistakes, and not when you, yes, when you repeat the same question, so some of them, they will answer very quickly, some very slowly. There's no time there. You can see the pace that they feel comfortable working, let's say.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you can start putting them in different, building the different profiles based on this kind of questions. Mm.
That's
But
really
yeah,
interesting.
there are other companies that use, there are a few number of games. I have seen some of our colleagues, let's call them, no competitors,
Hmm.
and there are a few different ones. I'll give you some names at the end of the interview so you can see. So they are working with Siemens, for example. So we are talking about really
Hmm.
big companies.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, I think that's really, I don't know how well I would do on games. I don't like puzzles.
No, no, no. They are not like the difficult ones. It's like something easy, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
more to see how you. It's not like no, it's not like something complicated. On the contrary, it's for
Handing over
everybody to
Rubik's
be able, even
cubes.
for
Solve
children.
this. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Sorry. Okay. So they're not complicated. Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
no.
You're just really, um, do you ever, I mean, I don't know. This is something that I would think of. I always ask people, it's like, what's your astrological sign? And when is your
Oh.
birthday? Because I always want to know too, like, you know, I'm not hugely into astrology, but I do take some cues from it. Just because, fun fact, when I was in my undergraduate, we had to do a senior project. And
Mhm,
so at the time, I was like, astrology, oh my God, it's so silly. And so what I did was I did a study for my senior project and I had downloaded this program. Well, I bought this program. And what I would do is I would print out three complete astrological assessments
mhm,
that had everything. Because within astrology, there's like 12 houses. So you're not just a Virgo or an Aries, you're like a lot of things, right? And so
mhm,
what I would do is I would ask the people closest to them, family and friends, to read the three profiles and
mhm.
choose the one that was their friend or relative or whatever. And we ended up with a 74% accuracy rate. People could read
Wow.
the profiles, these blueprints, and be able to say, yeah, this is my mom or this is my dad or whatever. One thing it was very, very interesting that we found was the accuracy level reduced when a couple had been married for a very long time
Mm,
because they started to
yeah.
really meld their personalities and you just like you don't know who each other are, like you're each other now. You've been together for
Mhm.
60 years, you've taken on traits, it becomes very, very difficult. So that is just a silly thing, but that is something that I also look at too. It's like, are
Mm.
you a Virgo? Are you a Taurus? Are you can I have
Oh,
your
that's interesting.
put it in a
Okay,
computer,
okay.
look it up, see what kind of, it's anyway, I'm just that's it's a little fun fact on the side there. But I do think that it is really important to look at all the different variables to really define who you're bringing onto your team. But I think fundamentally it's not it's that, and making sure that people align with your team, but also that they're able to cope. They need to have those emotional intelligence. They need to be team
Mhm.
players. But all that kind of gets washed out if you don't have top down leadership, right? If you don't
Mhm.
have authentic leaders, if you don't have passionate leaders, purposeful leaders, obviously emotionally intelligent leaders, um, that drives a company, it drives a nation, it drives a
Right.
cause. So those values and that moral compass need to always be pointing your true north, or it is going to get shit gonna get crazy.
Hmm.
So,
Yes, and authentic leadership is what is bringing innovation and change. For example,
mhm,
many of our clients it was not the human resources department that reached out to us. It was the leader, the manager who, he or she has really this problem, this issue with his or her team, and they want to solve it. So they reach out because they want the best for the teams, of course, also for performance and so on. But we find some team leaders, they are amazing. Some maybe not, yeah, but they are, I believe they are going to set up, this new reality that is coming, that it is really possible to have harmony in teams.
yeah. So, I guess the question then I know what my answer would be, but for you, when you look at leadership and you look at values driven leadership, when you look at authentic leadership, when you look at that strong north pointing dial on the compass. What does that look like? How would you define that leader?
First of all, they need to be able to be empathetic. They
Mm,
need to be able to understand what's going on the other side, because some people, as you well know, they are not able to. They are not able to understand what's going on the other side. They only see one side of the story.
mhm.
So that's extremely important. I would say it is the most important, and that brings everything else to the table, I believe. Yes, and what else? I'm thinking exactly in the kind of people that I have seen that they are, and then they need to be able to. You are not perfect at everything. Nobody is, correct? Nobody. So they need to be able to know where to look for help or support, to be able to bring the tools or bring the people to help for their team and their company. If possible, they also need support from higher, so they are also given the okay, all right, yeah, you do it. Yes. For example, in our case, you said we are based in Prague, but Prague, the budgets in the Czech Republic, normally they are still a bit low, yeah. So
Mhm.
our big market, where almost all of our customers are, is Switzerland. Switzerland has no problem with budget at all whatsoever. No one tells you, oh, we don't have budget. No one.
Okay.
Yes. So
Good
that's an
point.
important part.
Fun fact. Go to Switzerland for business. Got it.
Yes. Geneva is a beautiful city. It's not Prague.
I've been to Bern, so I love it.
Yes, yes. And I'm curious to know what do you think is there that it is, because I can see that you have something else on your mind.
My expressive face, yes. So I would agree with you. I think empathy, compassion, those fall under the very five fundamental. If you look at five fundamental values: love, truth, peace, right conduct, nonviolence. Empathy and compassion fall under the value of love, and I think that is absolutely essential just to be a human, right? We need to be able to be there and be compassionate and empathetic. The one thing that I've noticed, and this is why I created the Tay Academy, is because while I agree that empathy is a driving force, we can have empathy without having integrity.
Mm. Of
And
course.
so for me, and we can have compassion without having integrity. Like they don't always marry. And so I believe that there needs to be a very strong alignment with your thoughts, your words, and your deeds. Values driven thoughts, words, and deeds. Like obviously, if you say I think I'm going to kill someone, and you say I'm going to kill someone, and you do that, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, that's a level of integrity. You did what you said you were going to do. I'm not talking about that. But that really values driven leadership that leans into the essence of love. Again, compassion, empathy, appreciation, communication, connectivity, truth, being honest. Exactly what you said. We're never perfect. But I think authentic leaders also say, I effed up. I made a huge mistake. They're willing to take ownership for what they have or have not done instead of pointing fingers, which I think we see a lot of people do. It's always everybody else's fault, which is why I got out of counseling, because I was tired of hearing everybody blame everybody else for their problems. Like, you got to look at yourself. Peace, the ability to be that unwavering pillar in in the tsunami, or in the typhoon, right? True leaders can sit when all the chaos is going, and they're calm, they can say, I got this. I got you. I got this. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. This may look like a shit show, but I swear to God, we'll get through it.
Mm.
Right conduct. making good choices, not just choices for themselves because it's going to maybe level up their career or get them a better salary, but a choice that looks good for the team, that looks good for the company, that looks good for the environment, that looks good for the community, that looks good for the nation. And when the other part of that is nonviolence. And I don't, oftentimes we think of nonviolence as like the act of not hurting somebody physically. But
Mhm.
but nonviolence is so much deeper than that. It's making sure that we're not jealous. It's making
Yes.
sure that we don't hurt somebody with our words and with our
Mhm.
actions. And I think that thread, when we have all those five in alignment, that's the thread that leads to keeping that needle super north. Because I think in a space of a world, not just, the Czech Republic or the USA or where, I think this has become a more capitalistic world where the drive is about what we can get and not what we can offer.
Mhm.
And and it makes me sad. It makes me really sad that so many people have forgotten that the purpose of our existence is to love and be loved. In whatever capacity that you are in this world, you are serving others, whether you are a leader or whether you are a worker.
Mm.
We are serving each other, and I feel like we forget that. So yes, I do absolutely agree with you, but I pull that thread as far as I can go on it because I just think there's just so many levels that people forget in the space of all of
Yes.
this.
Yes. 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 Uh, 100%. I would like to add that, people will respond to you, to managers, to companies, out of fear or out of love,
Hmm.
with all the different. And you can see that happy employees are top performing employees. They will give more than they have to do because they want to. Yes, and I really like your the mention that you made of nonviolence, because for many of our clients also, psychological safety is so important in a team, that that you can speak up, that you can be, one of our games, let's say a game inside of a game, is, we call it, the boss is always right. And that game, we play that game in the team, we know, because in the team, and we tell the boss, they're going to, playing one of these, even the puzzles, doesn't matter. The boss has to choose the wrong answer on purpose. And we, on purpose. And nobody knows that he or she is doing it on purpose, because we ask them, whichever you like at any point, but do it and see how the team responds. Are they going to tell you you are making a mistake, because they have to all choose the right answer? How? And 99% of the times, the bosses are so surprised. They really thought, oh, no, 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 the team is going to tell me we're making a mistake. And they might tell them, but then when the boss says, oh, but I really think, they almost always capitulate. They say, okay, all right, you are the boss.
Yeah, that's dangerous. That's so dangerous. Super
It
dangerous.
is.
I love that. That's such a strong, powerful point that you made, that emotional safety to be able to speak up and say when something is wrong and not be um fired or berated or whatever the repercussions are. Um yeah, I love that. And I think that's so important, not just even with a working environment, but just in life, to be able to say, hey, that's not right. And not in a space of my beliefs are better than your beliefs. I'm not talking about that, but fundamentally what we know to be right and wrong.
Hmm. Yes.
Um, so yeah, murder. We know if you see someone planning that is wrong. It's I don't think anybody's sitting there going, I don't know. Let me think about that one. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's some fundamental things that we know, you know,
Mm,
trafficking somebody, abusing somebody, an animal, a person, a thing, it doesn't like we have some fundamental values that we all should be sharing. And if we're not, oh gosh, well, let's just, well, well, we're not. So let's just say that there is a bigger problem. And
yes.
Carol, you and I just don't have the time to fix this today.
Well,
But I'm sure your company will work on it.
well, look, if we're saving one workplace at a time, yes,
I
just a
love it.
small difference. Yeah, that we are making a difference. Even if small, of course, we cannot change everything, but just hopefully there's a rippling effect or a butterfly effect or whatever you want to call it. But there needs to be a change. It needs to be triggered. It needs to be starting somewhere.
Yeah.
Definitely. Mhm.
Well, I'm really excited about the work that you're doing at WhomLab, and is this something also that people in the United States can use? Like, can they reach out to you? Is this an option
Yes, of course.
European?
Happy to.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Could you share a little bit as we wrap up here about WhomLab and what you do and what services you offer? I mean, we obviously understand it to some degree, but how do people
Mhm.
find you?
Yeah, so they can find me on LinkedIn, my name there, Carol Constant, and also the company is there, and or our website. That's normally how we get in touch. And yes, so what we do is we are helping companies to make teams perform at their best. It can be by bringing a new person from outside or from internal promotion to that team to be the team to be balanced or depending on what the direction that they want, or it can be teams that are already established and helping them perform better and help polish a little bit their dynamics.
Amazing. And do you
Mhm.
do any sort of leadership training in that space?
Yes, because once we the way we do it is we build profiles, and
Hmm.
then depending on the profile of each person, we recommend some training, and we work with some of the top in Europe.
Hmm.
Companies delivering. So we don't do the training ourselves. We do the assessment. We do the diagnosis, and then we put them in touch with learning and development. Mhm.
Amazing, amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have that, those additional steps to really support people through the process. Well,
Yes,
thank you
yes,
so
yes.
much. This has been very, very enlightening. You'll have to forgive my brain this morning. Uh, as you probably have heard, my country had some news last night, so I'm emotionally reeling a little bit. So I probably said some things wrong and got some things wrong. But I'm having a moment, and
I
not a good
really enjoyed it. It was fantastic. It was really, really nice and very authentic.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you sticking in there with me because my brain's in my brain's in a space today, I swear. So we would love to have you back to talk more about this because this is such an important topic. And I think the more we have these conversations, the more we can move the needle back to center north, right? So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for tuning in to 411 T Street, where we spill the tea on the stories that matter the most. Transformation isn't a single moment. It's the clarity and insight that drives meaningful change and connects us all. If today's episode struck a chord, hit subscribe and share. Let's keep these conversations flowing and inspire real movements. 411 T Street. Get the info, spill the truth, spark the change.